Of course, start the meeting. It is 10:08. This is the Driver Training Traffic Safety Advisory Committee meeting for today. And I'd like to, of course, call that to order and roll call. Delia, do you mind doing roll call? Thank you so much. Sorry I caught you off guard. Thank you so much.
Ricardo Benavides,
Oh, present.
David Bruce,
Present.
Blake Garrett,
Present.
Cindy Jo Newland, Francis Gomez, Kevin Knapp,
I'm here.
Patricia Lark, Carlos Reyna,
Present.
Nina Jo Saint,
Present.
Sam Webb,
Present.
Glenn Whittingham. You have a quorum.
Glenn is not here? Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Elliot, thank you so much. And we do have a quorum present, by the way. Thank you all so much for making it. Everybody that's here, the public, the viewers that are watching us, the staff, and of course our staff members. I'd like to, the next item is item C, the approval of our minutes from the last meeting. I'm hoping that everyone's had a chance to look at them. Anybody have any questions before we make a motion to approve those minutes from last time, members? Anybody had any questions about them at all? Okay.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes from last meeting.
Thank you. Kevin makes a motion.
I second.
Carlos seconds it. Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. And I also want to make a motion to excuse the 4 people that are not here. I know that they all have good reasons why they're not here. If I can make a motion to officially excuse Cindy, Francis, of course, Dr. Lark, and it was Glenn as well. So we have a motion on the floor, of course, to excuse those. Anyone would like to?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you so much, Kevin, for officially making the motion.
And I second.
Carlos, thank you, Carlos. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you so much, guys. I want to officially welcome Mr. Webb. He's one of our newest members. Definitely the advisory meeting. I hope you don't mind. Welcome, by the way, Mr. Webb.
Thank you very
Tell
much.
us a little bit about yourself, if you don't mind.
Okay, well, I'm Sam Webb, and I grew up in Houston and lived in Austin for the last 13 years. My wife Ann and I own the Ann Webb Skin Clinic and Institute, so it's a trade school and a spa here. I'm a lawyer by training. I've worked in the energy industry, been in the military and the Army for many years, was a JAG officer as well, and spent a lot of time working in politics. I was with the General Land Office for 8.5 years and handling coastal matters, energy matters, and I'm very appreciative to be here and looking forward to it.
We're honored. Thank you so much, Mr. Webb.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Welcome. Okay. The next item is, where am I?
You got public comment, Mr. Chairman?
That's right. I had asked Delia earlier if we had anyone for public comments, and we have one. This portion, by the way, is where we allow the public to come up here and speak. You have 3 minutes. You can say anything you'd like to us and everyone else that's listening. I only have one, so I'd like to offer everybody the opportunity. If you'd like to speak, all you have to do is just go up to the front. There's these public comment forms that you can fill out, and just hand it over to me or to Delia, and of course you can then come up. I'd like to start with that, if y'all don't mind. We can get that out of the way now. I only have one person, Mr. Chad Henry. Are you here?
Yes.
Excellent. Yeah, come on up. Yeah, come on up. Right over here, if you don't mind. And thank you so much. Good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
Fantastic. Thank you,
Good.
Chad.
I just want to, 3 things, encourage the committee to look at their role of enforcement, and I think one thing that would be great for the schools is for us to possibly get a checklist that we would have access to look at as to what an inspector is really wanting and looking for when they come to inspect our schools. I think we probably have something roughly in existence, but to maybe have it, you know, on the website or something, and that might be good for the public as well to know, you know, if they say, hey, you know, go check out your local driving school and here's what we're looking for, and the public may have something to add and say, you know, what about, you know, tire tread depth? You know, are all the cars inspected? Is all that, you know, all those things. Secondly, with the development of the third-party examination concept, one of my biggest fears is that we're going to end up with situations where we have examiners that are basically approving everyone. And, you know, I know amongst the teenagers, they talk. That's all they do. That's really all they do is talk to one another. But we all know they don't really talk, they text. And as soon as they find that one driving school or that one examiner that passes everyone, there will be a line there. And it doesn't do anything but jeopardize our reputation as an industry for creating quality. Two, it jeopardizes our responsibility of having that responsibility. Three, ultimately, it's going to increase insurance premiums because we've got groups of people who are saying, yes, terrible driver, please go get on the road in my community. And so I realize that that is under the DPS part of our institution, but I do see how if that examiner has to work under a TDLR licensed school, that the school could then be punished and that we develop a consistent and comprehensive method of regulating that so that we don't have that, so that we can keep this privilege, and that we see ultimately our insurance premiums go down because we're putting safer drivers on the road. Ultimately, for our industry, it says, hey, you may need to come take some private driving lessons to get better before you practice, before you go and take that driving test one more time. And finally, the third thing is it'd be immensely appreciated if when TDLR does anything to alter or modify the TDLR website, that the schools that are listed on that website in any form or fashion get an email saying we will be manipulating, altering, taking down, working on the website from this time to this time. If we could just get a notice about that, that would be so appreciated. And that's all I have to.
Thank you so much.
You're
Appreciate it,
welcome.
sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Anybody else would like to come up and speak at this time? Thank you so much. All right. Our next item is E, staff reports. Briefing from the staff, of course. First one is Executive Office. Good morning, Brian.
Mr. Chairman, board members, Brian Francis, Executive Director with TDLR. The last time we talked, I think I was 22 days on the job.
Yes.
And so now some 11 months in, the wheels are still on, and I know that's a metaphor that this group can kind of wrap their minds around. Things are still moving well. It's been exciting. It's been extremely exciting, and the staff has heard me say this before. It's different sitting in the seat. It's a different vantage point. My dad, who is, he served in the military as well. He was in the Air Force. We always said that, man, Dad acts like we're enlisted. You know, the way he taught us and raised us. But, you know, when I finally got the job, he sat me down. He said, now, Brian Earl, I know you think you've been running that agency for years, but you've only been making suggestions. Bill Kuntz, he had to live with the decisions. And that's true. It's different, having to go home and sleep with the decisions. In the first, 3 weeks, one of the primary responsibilities enforcement keeps me busy is signing agreed orders. And so probably in that first week, I was signing orders that were fining people $6,000 and $10,000 and revoking licenses and suspending licenses with just my horrible, quick little signature. And that's heavy. It's really something to think about. And I'm fortunate. I've got a great staff that lifts me up every day. They run with the vision that I have. They're inspiring to me, their commitment as public servants. So I'm super blessed. I found out that the job takes a little bit more than just being in a legislative session. In fact, I thought that was my whole job, starting in January, was being executive director. But when the session has kind of gone down and gone away, it's really trying to learn and figure out what's the day-to-day routine look like. How do we continue to be excellent in the things that we deliver? Mr. Chairman, I want to give you a quick update on the legislative session. Delia, if you'll hand those out, please. TDLR just came out of our busiest legislative session, and we've had some doozies in the past. But this one was exceptional in terms of the amount of work, the number of hearings. We attended 65 hearings as resource witnesses. We went before 20 different committees. I know that this group can recognize that, we typically sit in transportation on both sides. Well, we were all over the place: natural resources, business and commerce, transportation, Homeland Security, you name it. TDLR had a presence in there. One of the things that I wanted to do under my leadership was to make sure that we continue to grow the bench strength of our agency. And so I had about 15 of our folks that were involved in being resource witnesses. And there's a whole lot to it. Even if you're not called up to the table, there's a lot of preparation that goes into getting ready for a hearing. You've got your normal duties, and now you've got to figure out, how am I going to sit at this table? And this may be the only time that they have someone from TDLR. So they may ask you every question in the book about TDLR. How many employees do you have? And how many programs do you have? And what's your fee for X? So I was extremely proud of the staff and their preparation. We actually did some training, testimony training for our staff, and it was brutal. In this room, we would sit up there as if we were members of different committees. And I remember in one of the training sessions, we've got somebody at the table laying out TDLR's budget, and I come strolling through the door with a beach ball, just going through the beach ball and walking through the table, and they're kind of looking around, but you have to stay focused on the questions that are at hand. And so those are some of the things that we do to try to get our folks ready. This session, we had over 219 cost estimates that we had to produce. That's a 60% increase over the last session. A cost estimate is for every bill that's filed in the legislature, they will ask an agency, how much is it going to cost? How many more employees do you need? How much more travel expenses are you going to have associated with it? From our cost estimate, they build what is called a fiscal note. So we're going through the numbers and trying to figure out, does this have a cost? Can we implement this with no cost? Is this going to impact our revenue stream coming to the agency? Whole lot more work. Tony Couvion led up those efforts. We tracked over 341 bills this session. About 130 had direct impact with programs that we had. About 20 were relating to new programs that were proposed to come to TDLR. Something that we've learned over the last couple of years is that sometimes TDLR is considered, the regulatory boogeyman. People may say, you know what, we're going to file a bill and we're going to transfer your whole agency to TDLR if you don't straighten up, young man. And they're like, oh my God, don't do it, don't send us to TDLR. So even when those bills are filed, we have to go through the full analysis of how will that program fit into our agency. We have to go through the full analysis of their statute and how does it fold into our activities, that if it comes to us, are we going to be able to administer it appropriately? So the efforts are serious and they're drawn out, and the rooms are tense because that other agency is looking at us across the room saying, you're coming after us. I'm like, hey, we're not coming after you. But if the legislature asks us to look at you and asks us to take on those responsibilities, we're going to do the very best we can in that regard. So this session was intense. In front of you, you have this document here. The first part kind of outlines the summary. Mr. Chairman, I think this industry went through the strategic planning process with us for the first time last year. And that's where we would go around the state and we'd ask, what are we doing well? What can we do better? If you were king or queen for a day, what's the one change you would make? And what changes do you see impacting your industry over the next 5 years that will have to impact the way that we have to do regulation? And out of those strategic initiatives, We had, well, I'll put it in perspective. For the legislature, there were 6,631 bills that were filed for all of the last legislative session. About 21 of those passed. It's about a 19% pass rate. We went into the session with 56 statutory strategic initiatives that came out, not just for this program, but for all the other programs we administer. And we had a 93% pass rate. 52 of those passed. And I know that was a function of the work that we've done with the groups, making sure that we're hearing what you guys are saying, what's important to your industry, but also vetting those issues. I think the legislature said, hey, these are worthwhile, because it's not just some pie-in-the-sky idea that came out of the blue, not just some desire, but something that really is going to bring about efficiency and change. I'll go through a few of those, and then I'll talk about the bills that are going to impact your industry specifically, and then Carrie's going to come up a little later on and give you some more detail about our bill implementation efforts that are going to involve the board all the way through June of next year, and of course a little bit further than that. The first couple of items I'd like to emphasize is that there were some deregulations that we recommended to the legislature, and TDLR, while we may be on a growth trajectory in terms of responsibilities, we also recognize that there are some things that we don't need to be doing for a statewide level. And so we went to the legislature saying, dereg this particular program. Legal service contract providers, vehicle protection product warranters, that's the club or the VIN etching on your vehicle. We were like, you don't need to have a statewide license to do that. You can have the consumer protection provisions that are in the contract, but you shouldn't have to come to the state to get a license to do that. Temporary common worker employers was another group that we felt was better handled at the municipal level as opposed to the state level. We also looked at a couple of items in our cosmetology and barbering program. One is a shampoo apprentice license, that deregulate that. We made it clear that threading, Mr. Chairman, you look like you probably get your eyebrows threaded, and that's. So now you can go to an unlicensed threader, and it's still going to be safe, and you're going to be fine in doing that. Another one that we identified was in our vehicle towing. I have to now say towing because we have podiatry. And so if I say toe short, you're not sure if we're talking about podiatry or the whole foot. So in our vehicle towing program, we identified that the dual license for a towing operator, and a vehicle storage facility employee probably didn't need to be there, that we could actually rely on just one of those licenses to work in that vehicle storage facility. So we went to the legislature, take away some of these programs. It's going to be about 15,000 licenses that will ultimately go away. In the history of the state, it's probably the largest occupational licensing deregulation that's happened definitely in the last 25 years. So we're excited to be part of that spear and leading that charge. What it did is it cleaned up our plate to take on new responsibility. Some of the new programs, and Mr. Chairman, if you guys will look on page 6 of this document here. We did come out of the session with some new responsibilities. House Bill 100 deals with transportation network companies. You may know them as Ride Austin, Fasten, Uber, Lyft. Those companies are transportation network companies. They now fall under TDLR's regulation. When I say now, I mean now. Upon the signing of the bill on May 29th, it was immediate effectiveness. We are in the process of building the infrastructure to take on those programs. It's probably going to be about 18 to 20 programs at the most. It does not require us to delve into the drivers. That's still going to be a responsibility of the companies to vet that. But we are on the forefront of TNCs. Welcome to TDLR, right? House Bill 162 is a new program. It's very discreet, very narrow. It deals with online courses for responsible pet owners. If a person has been convicted of animal cruelty and the court decides that you're going to pay a fine, but you also should have to attend a course, now you have to attend a course in person. This would allow for an online option. It looks very similar to some of the programs that we have coming over on November of this year, which is the Offender Education Program, which is also very similar to the DAP program for folks that have been convicted of certain crimes. House Bill 3078, that's dealing with the regulation of medical podiatrists. So that was a standalone agency. On September 1 of 2017, they will become our program. They will be here. We call that really a first run, a day one type of consolidation. Sometimes we'll have a year to bring them on board. Driver's education was a day one consolidation. We took you guys on in less than 3 months after the session ended, and as we're going through with your program, we're now building it in the image of TDLR. We're doing the rules and reformatting it, so we have to build the infrastructure after it comes on board. And you guys are a perfect example of how that process works. The podiatrists, there's maybe about 1,600, 1,700 podiatrists for the state of Texas. The challenge was that the program only had 4 employees for the whole agency. These are some hard-working folks, but you know, as Mr. Webb can attest to it, as a state agency, whether they had 4 employees or 20,000 employees, they still had to do all the reports that GLO had to do, that TDCJ has to do, to the state auditor's office, to the comptroller's office. They had to answer the phone calls, they had to issue licenses, they had to deal with complaints, they had to do investigations. That's hard to do with just 4 people. It's very difficult to do. And so the legislature felt like moving that program under TDLR's watch would allow them to gain some of our economies of scale and some of our systems in place. We are looking forward to adding to TDLR's family. Those folks, we've been meeting with them, and in fact, our bill implementation process calls for what we call a program integration team. They've already started meeting with the folks over there to figure out how they do business, how they issue a license. We did a similar process with Gay and Kathy when we were working with TEA coming on board over here. So we're undertaking that process now. Senate Bill 589 is a brand new licensing program altogether. Deals with behavioral analysts. Mr. Chairman, the hearings over at the Capitol can be difficult, they can be boring, they can be intense. You just don't know what the issues are going to be when you go into that hearing room. Particularly in some of our cases, there may be an alcohol beverage issue, and then TDLR's got an elevator issue, and then there's a cosmetology issue and some type of issue with engineers, and it varies, goes across the board. The one constant, and I've got friends that are lobbyists, but the one constant is that the back of the room is filled with lobbyists. And they're typically saying, okay, you people get off the stage, I got bills I got to move through, let's go, let's go. And so normally the citizens can kind of drag down the process a little bit. This program had 5- and 6-year-olds that were testifying at the table, and normally it's not a good formula. It's not a good formula for a legislative hearing, but in this case it was extraordinary. It was absolutely extraordinary. Some of these kids could not communicate 3 and 4 years ago. And with the assistance of a behavioral analyst, they were able to work through some of their issues with autism or on the spectrum, and to watch them articulate their needs and their growth and the purpose and the need for this program was humbling. And even in that room of hardened professionals, there was at least 15 seconds of silence, and then they were back to, let's get the bills going, let's get the bills going. So this program's got a lot of heart to it. We'll take it on about June of next year, so we have time to build the infrastructure, whether it's with technology, forms, the rules. There's going to be an advisory board that'll be appointed for that group in September, so there's a lot of work that has to be done. But it's going to be one of those programs that has heart, and that I think is going to really be rewarding and fulfilling for our staff to work with. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to talk just briefly on some of the bills that made it through, that are impacting the driver education industry and driver safety industry. Don't want to keep my folks out from that side of the table. So you have House Bill 912 and Senate Bill 848. They're twins. And those bills took forward the same information that we came out of our strategic planning session with. They really focused on those issues, whether it was lowering the surety bond, whether it was dealing with the driver safety courses. Remember, we had that little bit of language issue in the statute that seemed to imply that the locations for defensive driving courses had to be owned by the school, and so sometimes maybe the stuff that was taking place in restaurants, the statute seemed to be a little different than that. And we were able to clean up that anomaly and make sure that what's happening today matches what the law says. And so that was a really nice cleanup that we were able to achieve in that. Then there was a nice little movement. Nice is my euphemism because, I'm a poet, so I like to use nice, soft terms. But there was a nice little discussion that took place this session dealing with Parent-On. We went in looking at the parent-taught situation, if you followed any of the legislative session, there were a number of bills that seemed to expand who could be a parent-taught instructor. One bill started off saying it could just be police officers and folks that worked at like YMCA's, and then another bill said, no, it could be the parents could designate somebody if the parents were disabled, and it started going in a lot of different directions. The compromise language for that parent-taught instruction is in 912, and it's in also 848. And, Mr. Chairman, I won't read through it slowly because I know that Carrie's going to touch on it, but this is going to be an area that we're going to have to do rulemaking on. But I think the theme and the expectation is very clear from the legislature, is that it's no longer limited to just that familial connection. There are other requirements, but it's not limited to the parent, the step-parent, the foster parent. Now there's individuals who have been designated by those folks that's at least 25 years old, that does not charge a fee, has at least 7 years of driving experience, and otherwise is qualified. So now they've expanded a little bit, and that's where we are in that process. I will tell you that the conversations that my wife and I have, sometimes, and I'll put myself in this role, there's some places I want to be in terms of my weight loss, but I'm not. But this is where I am. And sometimes in the legislative process, we can spend more energy jousting with what it should say and what it was going to say, and not focus on what's in front of us. I think the language will be workable. I don't see us being harmed in any way. We've got to make some adjustments and that sort of thing. But let's get it in place. Let's go through the rulemaking process and see where we end up with that. The other thing that I wanted to point out just very briefly is that we have 3 curriculum changes that will be coming before the advisory board. One's going to be dealing with the safety belt. We'll knock that out one pretty quickly, and Carrie will touch on that. The other 2 are going to be relating. One's going to relate to the law interactions, so police interactions at the stop. We have read all the headlines. We know what's out there. There was a concerted effort on the part of the legislature to say, what can we do to minimize the conflict when a person's pulled over by the police officer? What can we do to minimize that? And their response was, if we give the same education to the law enforcement personnel, to our kids that are in school, and to folks that are going through driver education or driver safety courses, put everybody on the same page of what the expectations should be at that interaction, then maybe we can minimize some of that. I think it's important work. I think it's seriously important work that we're going to have in front of us. I'm excited about being at the forefront of this. I literally get chills just thinking about making one of those interactions better than what it could have been through our efforts. I know that the driver industry, you guys have been dealing with this for years. You know how important your work is for preparing young people to take the road and I know how serious you take it when you see the fatalities that are associated with driver education. This is another thing that's important that we can help. We can provide some help and some education. So we'll be working on that one on a slower track. That one's not going to be done by May or February, by February or March of 2018. We're going to take our time and make sure we get it done right, that the education is presented correctly. I think we have till September 1 of 2018 to adopt the rules, but we're looking at maybe a June 2018 rule adoption time period on that. And then finally, the other course that we'll be working on, you may recall that when TDLR took over the program in 2015, we inherited a lawsuit from TEA, and it was dealing with the hard of hearing delivery of courses. That lawsuit was overturned because the complaints aged out, but that issue was still lingering. Senate Bill 1051 will address that by requiring TDLR to develop a course for hard of hearing and deaf students. That's going to be part of this process that we're going to undertake. Carrie will give you guys some of the detail and the timeline for that. So we've got a lot of work to do. And in fact, you're going to be hearing, Mr. Chairman, when we get to the part about upcoming advisory board meetings, we already have the advisory board meetings that we need from you guys going all the way through May of next year. So there's going to be a lot of work in front of us coming forward, but I'm excited about it. It was a great session. I want to tip my hat to the staff and and all the stuff they've done, and I know they're going to do a great job as we do bill implementation on this. I'm available to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you so much. Right, fantastic report. I really appreciate that. Anybody have any questions, members?
Sam, we're going to
Fantastic.
pick on you. We're required to ask you at least 15 different questions in your first meeting, so just know that.
As long as they're yes or no questions.
Spoken like a great attorney. Oh, Mr. Chairman, the last thing I want to say is we want to thank Kevin for stepping in, the chair.
I thanked them personally.
Yeah, did a great job.
You did a great job.
Did
I
a
saw
great
the
job.
entire meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did a great job. Thank you very much.
I have a question.
Yes.
Nina Saint, looking at the issues for the new programs, the hearing impaired course, the child passenger safety seat, and the
Police
interaction with
interaction.
law enforcement, are you looking at a national initiatives on this also? I do know other states passed some of the same legislation to see what's going on the national scale.
Nina, I think we'll be looking at national for the child safety as well as the hard of hearing. But in terms of the police interaction, that the success of that effort is that it's collaborative across the spectrum of law enforcement, getting similar training and reading from the same book, from the kids in the school reading from the same book, and the folks in driver education. I do know that last summer, Senator West had convened a task force that has put together some of the basic elements that will be included. And so some of our work's already going to be done. But I think on a national look, we won't be able to use that because we are looking at a Texas response for how should a Texan respond if they're pulled over by a Texas law enforcement person. But in the other two, absolutely, we can look nationally. And in fact, we've charged Ray and Carrie with finding the very best of what's out there. And you and I had conversations during the session about some of the efforts that have been used as well.
And so do we have the results of the task force?
We will. We'll get that.
Okay.
Yeah. They'll be part
Would you
of
like it forwarded to you?
What's that?
Would you like it forwarded to you?
Well, unless you want to sign it to me, you can definitely forward it to me. Nani, you're always on the spot. I like it.
Well, some of us are working on the national scope of some of this issue, so
Yeah.
there is a wealth of information.
Yeah, on that one, though, we do need to be consistent across the Texas solution on that. I think that was made very clear during the hearings and some of the conversations we've had with Senator West's office.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Anyone else? Any members, any questions? Thank you so much, appreciate it. Moving on to the next item, E2, Compliance Division. Morning, Michael.
Good morning, Chairman, members. How are y'all? Especially warm welcome to our new member, Mr. Webb. Michael Ford Strawn with the Driver Training and Traffic Safety Compliance Division. Here to give you a report this morning. First, I'd like to start, as Brian said, it's been a very busy session. Many of the things he talked about, one of the things that I got and I was going to update y'all on is TNCs, Transportation Network Companies. In general, we did a lot of website updates, and one of the things that we've done for that as a response was the bill became enacted immediately, so we needed an immediate response to it. So if you go to our website, we actually have information, FAQs, and other information up about TNCs already. In fact, we had it up 2 days after the bill was signed. So we've been looking to be proactive, and not just the TNC response, but also with DES and driver education. One of the things I was going to bring up is if you've had a chance to look at our website recently, one of the things that Mr. Henry brought up was the fact that they wanted a checklist, and we hear that as we go out and make public contact with school owners and instructors as well as what to look for. As a patchwork, we were providing them with the checklist we were going to use, but we've actually posted that information on the website, so that if you go to our website as an instructor, as a school owner, you can actually see exactly what we're going to be providing you with, what to expect from the inspector. What information is he going to provide you? What ID? What is he looking for in your school? And what's he going to leave you with when he checks out of that office? What to expect from that. So all of that is currently up right now, and it is available. We've been trying to get that message out to everybody to let them know as we go around. send that information out through our listserv and everything else. But we didn't stop there. One of my charges as being compliance is make sure that everybody understands the rules and knows them, and that's internally and externally. So we reformatted a lot of the website as well. One of the things that I noticed in speaking with everybody was it may have not been in the easiest fashion to find some of the information there. A lot of our documents were all under other, and one of them we had 33 documents that were just listed under other documents. So what we tried to do was take a different approach to say, what makes sense if I'm coming here as an instructor, as a school owner? What documents do I need? Do I need application or renewal documents? And now if you go to our website, there's actual separate areas now. So if you say, I'm an instructor and I need an application document, it's broken out. It's no longer an other with fee forms and everything else. It's everything you need. And if it applies to schools, driver safety, instructors, parent taught, and everything else. And actually that was another thing as well, even from the public side of it, was parent taught forms. Copies of the 30-hour driving log and the VOE that they're always looking for were just buried. And so we broke those out, and they have a separate portal as well now. So we hope that if you'll have a chance to go out there, look at it, review it. If you have any issues with it or think it's better, let me know. We're constantly striving to continue to make updates like that. We've also, on that forefront, been working with training, internally, externally. Sorry, I don't know what happened. Recently, we've actually taken charge to, we've held separate trainings for investigators, for our inspectors, and for customer service. And as we move forward, we wanted our customer service to have that knowledge and that information to better empower people that are calling in. And as we gear up to start our inspections, we actually wanted to sit down and train them. So we took an entire day to sit down with our investigators and our inspectors and walk through everything. And we actually made visits to schools and everything, which E&E will expand on a little bit later. But I think it was very successful, and we're going to continue as compliance to train everybody and inform everybody that we can, and try to make this industry as strong and cohesive as possible. Mr. Henry and some others have mentioned that's their charge. They want everybody to have that information, to be on a level playing field, and through the education and training, I believe that we can get there. So, some of the other stuff that we've been doing is, you'll see in front of you, there is a packet that you should all have been provided. And, in our ongoing response to doing things better, we found that when schools closed, certainly unexpectedly, that we needed to have an appropriate response to that. So there's several documents in front of you that lay out procedures for not only compliance, but education and examination, for our web team and everything else. So we have a synced response for school closing, so that we can better react to a sudden closure for our public, for the schools, and internally, so that we can mitigate any instances that may come up at that. You'll see that there are school closure signs. There's also a flow chart for everybody for a quick kind of scan to see exactly what their duties are when a school closes. We also now send out a letter to that school owner advising them of what their requirements are when they close, because it appears that at times not everybody knows exactly what all their requirements are for reporting to us on the closure in a timely fashion. Obviously, if it's an unexpected closure wasn't done, how to maintain those records and provide them back to us, because there are students that still for 3 years need to have access to those records. And everything else, how to transfer that student and everything else. We want to make ourselves available to them so that we can help them through that, so it makes the student's life easier as well. So it was a big charge, and I'm really excited, and I hope that in future closures, that if they do happen, that we can react and provide the public the best service possible. Our last thing is our public outreach. Compliance has continued to go out to the ESC 6 conferences that are out there to engage. I've gone out and tried to get to know everybody in the industry, slowly learning names and faces. There's a lot of people out there, but I'm very excited, and I think that we bring a lot of good information as we go out there. We talk about a lot of the stuff that we brought up here today and our future initiatives and what we want. We also attend the Crossroads Coalition, and we're a part of that team to help minimize the number of deaths on our roadways, whether that is a bicycle user, a motorcycle, and a vehicle, whatever the case may be, a pedestrian. And I'm excited about that, and we're looking to get involved in some other public outreach groups as well as we move forward. That's all I have for you today, so I'm open for any questions if you have anything.
This is Carlos Reina. Mr. Strong, will anyone be providing information as you say you're doing now? Have you all initiated inspections in the field, and what are those results? And is there any common errors being made by schools? In other words, how is our industry faring? Will that be provided today?
We don't have a report as far as what the common issues are in the industry right now. We have done, and like I said, I don't want to step on education and examinations toes, but we have done in our training, we did go out to several schools and do inspections that are there, and made note of some stuff that's there. There's not a lot that's glaringly wrong, I would say, with most schools, but there's certainly areas that we've seen in closed school documents that I've gone through, whether that was for a forced closure or an unexpected closure or just their own volition, that I believe there's a lot of training that can be done on the record keeping side of it, especially with just knowing some of the finer intricacies of our rules. I mean, we have 100 pages plus of rules, and there are some things in there that can get lost through time. As you do this for 10, 15 years, it always helps to be re-educated on it and go back through it, and that's what I hope to accomplish through it. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you very much.
Fantastic presentation, sir. Thank you. Our next item is E3, Education and Examination Division. Carrie?
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Sam, welcome to the team.
Thank you.
We're excited to have you. We're excited to fill that last position. What I'll start off with is the easy stuff, and then later I'll talk about the bills, because that's a little bit more.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. I wasn't sure who was at the table. Is that Carrie?
I was getting there.
Okay, yeah.
Carrie Hodges.
Oh, that's who.
That's
okay.
me.
Just checking now. Just checking.
Carrie Hodges, Education and Exam. Thank you. Gotta love that guy. So really I'm just going to jump right into it. We've got a lot of things going on. As Brian spoke about earlier, and I will speak as well, we have, just with education and exam, we had 14 bills that actually directly impacted us. About 4 of those were mine, or ours, for driver education and safety. So we're really excited to get started on those. I will say that Phase 2 administration, the rule revisions for Phase 2, some of you that were on the subcommittee group shall remember we did actually a lot of that work on the front end, and we kind of paused to finish up Phase 1. Now that session is over, we know what needs to be added to the curriculum for Phase 2. We are going to resume probably towards the end of July, early August, so be expecting a meeting notice from me, but we're really excited to get this stuff kind of off the ground and finish that small part of the rules so we can at least incorporate all the stuff that was passed during session. I do want to thank, first of all, I want to thank Region 6. I actually have some folks here. Those of you that don't know, I took an instructor development course, and I recently went and spoke at the Texas Driver Traffic Safety Education Association meeting. It was a few months ago, and at that meeting I also got my completion certificate of my 135 clock hours of an instructor development course. It was scary, to say the least. Got to do actual behind the wheel driving with some 15-year-olds, and so that was scary again, but it was very enlightening. I wanted to see what you guys had to go through in order to become instructors. Brian Beal on my team, he's actually next up at bat, and he's looking forward to it. Even though he has reviewed many instructor development courses, he will now be taking an instructor development course. So we're really excited to actually get to that portion of our training, and just internally, just stuff that we want to do as a team to really fully understand the industry as a whole. We've also spoke. Ray, myself, my entire team, Shanesty, Ann, and Brian, we have spoke at multiple workshops around the state with the Region 6 Instructor Development Workshop. They actually got a grant from TxDOT to give a free workshop to instructors, and I think they're granted for this year and for next year, if I'm not mistaken. And so it's, our last one is in August in Huntsville, which I just love driving to Huntsville. But we're really excited to go. We really enjoy going out and actually educating these folks out there in our industry. There are a lot of things that have changed, a lot of you would actually be surprised at the amount of people that don't realize that the rules changed here recently, and so it's enlightening, but it's also very helpful for everybody that goes to these. And so we're looking forward to continuing next year. As a matter of fact, my team is actually taking over for me, and so because I will have a couple of programs coming on, offender education, as some of you know, animal cruelty. These are things that I will have to have a lot of concentration on, and so I still have love for DES, I promise you, but I have other babies as well, so they are going to take over for me, which I have a lot of confidence, very excited about them being able to go out and educate folks. Speaking of that, of educating people, we have the driver education search tool. Most of you have seen it. It is a fluid document. We will always refine it to make it the best it can be for the industry. That's our main priority. That's our main goal. I know it was referred to earlier that we send out something to let you know that things have been done. There was actually just a listserv that was done. Some of you, if you didn't receive an email, that means you're probably not on the listserv. What that email was letting you know is that now that the rules have changed, if you have anything in your documents that has anything to do with Region 13, TEA, or DPS, unless it's necessary if you're a third-party tester, it needs to be removed. Now, if you've just bought a huge amount of certificates or documents or something with that information on it, use up your backstop. We're not trying to cost you money. Use up your backstock. However, please update your websites because when we do inspections or online audits or things of that nature, that's some of the stuff that we do look for to make sure that you are in compliance because we are currently the regulating body. But that was a major listserv. And so when we do major updates and major changes, like when we work on the web tool again, we're looking at doing some updates to that as well to kind of make it easier for folks to see some visibility, putting some icons on the front page of our website to make it easier for the industry to actually find out where they're supposed to go. We will let the industry know about that. Those are your major changes. Of course, slight maintenance and stuff. If we did that, unfortunately, we just don't have the time to do that right now. But as far as a major listserv from any major changes, please make sure that you are on that listserv so you can actually get that information because we are more than happy to send out that type of information.
Carrie, for
Yes, sir.
Mr. Webb, will you explain to him what the listserv is in our world?
Oh, yes. Sorry. On our website, you can, if you are interested in any type of program that we have, it's actually quite interesting. When I first before I came to TDLR, I was interested in, the driver education and safety portion of it. So you can actually go to our website, and on our website, it gives you the opportunity to sign up, put in your email, and this is for anybody that's interested. You put in your email address, and then you can select what programs you're interested in. Once you select one of those programs or multiple programs, anytime something has changed, whether it be the rules, it could be employment opportunities, anything to do with barber and cosmetology, electricians, whatever you're interested in, you select that that's the information that you want to hear about, and then as soon as we send out a mass email, you will be sent that email. What I love about it is that it's not, you don't get a lot of spam. It's not a bunch of just random things that are sent to you. It is very to the point. It tells you exactly what you need to know. We received one when the rules were updated, when 84 got updated. We received a listserv, and really it's basically just a whole list of emails that'll be sent to, it's a list of emails that we send information to when things have changed. Awesome. Michael Strawn, Ford, whatever you want to call him, the rules guy, that's what I've dubbed him, he's our rules guy. He touched on this, but I actually want to thank he and one of my team members, Shanesty, for putting together the education inspectors and education liaison training. They did a phenomenal job for these folks because we have great inspectors. They are all, if you don't know, they are all CLEAR certified, which means that they are nationally certified. They're an amazing group of people, and so Marco and his team they're phenomenal. They can walk into a barber and cosmetology school and tell you from jump if something's not right. Training for driver education was a little bit different. It's not as intense as you would have a barber and cosmetology inspection. I've been on one of those. It's kind of gross. They look for hair in the sinks and it's just gross. But what they had to do is actually go in and show these folks, and they had videos and they had slides, and this is what you look for, and this is how you actually inspect these schools, and they did a phenomenal job putting that together. And then our inspectors just took it and absorbed it like it was amazing. I was so very proud of them, and so I'm really excited to go forward with that. Carlos, you had actually asked a question, kind of where are we? Another thank you would be to Easy Street Driving School and Longhorn Driving School. They actually allowed us to come out and do our mock inspections. We were able to go in and take all of the inspectors, and so it was probably a little intimidating for them because we had a whole group of people walk in their school while they were conducting class, and we're able to do a full-on mock inspection. And yes, there were some inconsistencies that were found, and they were told, just make sure and get these corrected. And they're not, they weren't egregious. There may be some in the future. We are planning to start full-on inspections starting about mid-July. And by rule, we are required to inspect at least once a year. So please be aware that you will be inspected at least once a year. If you want to know if you're in compliance prior to, I do encourage you to utilize a fairly new thing that we started, and it's not just with driver education and safety, but it's also with our barber and cosmetology schools, which is a school site visit. You can actually fill out a request form, and our education liaison will come out to your school and do, it's almost like a pre-inspection. They'll come out and make sure that you're in compliance with everything. So once you actually get that periodic inspection, you'll be in compliance. We will list things on the website. Right now we already do top 10 violations of other programs. We'll let you know what is our common violations that we see. And so, again, we're really excited to move forward on that. But that's all that I have for you right now. Like I said, I won't really touch on the bills. That'll be later because there's a little bit more granular details on that one. But I am here if anyone has any questions about anything else.
Carrie, that's fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ricardo.
Members, how are we on break? Staff? We're good to go? Shall we continue?
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I think unless there's some outcry, I think we can get there, and maybe after licensing, we'll take a break and delve really deep into the statutory change.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Let's move on to E4, Enforcement Division.
Good morning, committee members. My name is Robert Rennick. I'm an attorney in the Enforcement Division. One of the subjects that's to be discussed this morning is the key statistics for the fiscal year 2017. I think those are self-explanatory. I'll leave that to the committee to review unless you have any questions about it. I think. All right, so I'll move on to the to our case highlights for the enforcement cases that we have prosecuted this in the last fiscal year through May of 2017. On March 1st of 2017, by default order, the department revoked Victoria DeHiza's driver education instructor license and assessed a $100 penalty for failing to pay the criminal history information review fee. On November 30th of 2016, by agreed order, the department assessed a $75 penalty against Rhodes Driver Education School for having failed to refund a $17 credit card fee to a student who terminated enrollment in advance of entering the school. The expense was not separately stated and explained or shown in the information that was provided to the student prior to enrollment. and that's the reason that the penalty was assessed. On March 9th of 2017, by agreed order, the department revoked Patricia Ann Smith's driver education school license and her driver safety school license. She was functioning under the business name of BAMS Driving School. The agency also assessed an $11,000 penalty for her schools having her school having failed to provide adequate security and ensure that all ADE-1317 certificates were signed and issued in an approved manner. Individuals without enrollment contracts or classroom records were being issued certificates. And then on January 9th of 2017, by agreed order, the department revoked Rochelle Snearls, S-N-E-A-R-L, I'm taking the liberty of pronouncing that, Snearls, driver education instructor license because she falsified a federal document by stating on the document that she had observed students' classroom and drive time when she had not observed said activities. The document that she falsified is something you all might be more familiar with than I am. It's called an alternative certification program driving education cumulative teaching record. So those are the 4 highlighted cases that I have for your presentation, and that's all I have this morning.
Any questions, members? Thank you so much, Robert. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, as Bob is leaving, I just want to say that this will be the last time that this board will have the opportunity to be before this young man, and he is one of the finest and most talented prosecutors I've ever had the pleasure of working with. And he's going to be leaving our fold at the end of August, and we're going to miss him tremendously. But he is super talented.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Robert.
Thank you.
you.
Robert.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Good morning, Chairman and board members. I'm Chloe Whalen, Licensing Manager for the DES Instructor Program. This morning, I would like to just give you a few highlights on what we're doing with my team. Since we're losing the temporary common worker program, we were gaining the offender education instructors. So we'll start training for that program and learning that process and getting ready to issue their licenses to come November 1st. With DES applications, the new applications, we're in the process of updating those for the rule changes so that we can get those out to you. I have a third set of eyes looking at them to make sure that we don't miss anything and that we've updated what we needed to update. Also, let's see. Had to write myself a few notes. I wanted to welcome Mr. Webb to the board.
Thank you.
And the statistic report is before you, so if you have any questions on that, I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Questions, members?
No.
Thank you so much.
You're
Bob.
welcome.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Okay. Our next item is item F, discussion on the legislative session bills, but we're going to take a quick little break,
It's
right?
going to be great.
Right.
It'll be
Let's,
outstanding.
we're on recess for
Thank you,
10
sir.
minutes. Thank you so much.
programs from the old days.
I love it. Okay. Should we wait for the mics? Test, 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 1, 2. Oh, sorry, thank you. Thank you so much. All right, we are back in session, 11:26, and we're going to move right on to item F. We're going to be discussing the 85 session bills affecting us all.
Mr. Chairman,
Oh,
if we
yes.
could we go back to
Absolutely,
E3,
Brian,
the
I'm sorry
education?
about that.
That's okay, and just, I wanted Carrie to amend her education examination report, and then we'll go right to F.
Sure.
But there's something else I just
That's
wanted
an
her to share
excellent
with
idea.
the
Thank you
board.
so much.
Thank you.
Let's go back, absolutely.
I feel like I just did this. Carrie Hodges, Education and Exam, TDLR. There's one thing that I forgot to mention that I am actually really excited about, is that we have been working, our team has been working with the Office of Innovation here at the department. I love the Office of Innovation. They are, I've really never seen anything like it in any other state agency, is we look at, they are charged with looking at different processes and just different things throughout the agency and say, how can we be innovative? How can we do things differently than anybody else? And so those of you that have ever submitted a course, whether it be with the previous agencies or even with us, you know, it can be quite a lengthy process to actually get it approved. There's a lot that goes into it. And what we've been working on is streamlining that process and making it a shorter process. Yes, making sure that everything meets standard and that we still continue with the safety of our students, but we want to make sure that that process is lengthy. I mean, it's already lengthy. We want to make sure that we shorten that process. We want to get it as long as possible. No, we've actually we've taken their suggestions. They looked at our entire process. They met with each and every one of us. We took their suggestions, and we actually have a hard and fast date of January 1. We plan on having the new process in place, and hopefully before then, but when we met with my team yesterday, I said I don't want to go any further than that. And we're actually just really excited about it. It's going to be extremely beneficial for anybody that's actually submitting curriculum to us. It would also help us on the audit process when we're actually going back into audit courses. Some haven't been audited in probably 20 years. And we want to look to make sure that everybody is up to par. And this is really going to help to make sure that our entire division, no matter if it's driver education and safety, offender education, barber and cosmetology, we are looking at streamlining the same process. Of course, we'll be reviewing different things and looking for different items, but we are really just focusing on how can we make this, again, one, a shorter process, and that's going to be extremely transparent to the industry. Sometimes you know that you would submit something and you don't even know if we got it, and we shoot us an email, hey, did you get my curriculum? I sent it about 2 weeks ago. This will actually be more of a process to where as soon as we get it, we let you know, we've received it, this is where you are in line, we will contact you as soon as we start it. It's a lot of back and forth to let you, to kind of keep everybody aware of where we are and the review process itself. And so we're really excited and looking forward to going through that review process and updating and streamlining it. Any questions on that?
Members? Thank you so much.
Carrie, thank you for.
Thank you. Do I have to
Chairman,
get up
thank
and then like get back up?
You
Just
can
stay here?
stay.
Okay, great.
All right, we are on F now. Okay.
All right. Carrie Hodges, TDLR, Education Exam.
My apologies, Carrie. I was going to interrupt real quickly. I had a public member mention earlier in regards to, they wanted copies of these right here, and I just wanted to let the public know that this is available on the website. What's the website where all these bills are, the House bill?
Oh, TDLR.
We actually have these House bills on the website?
Absolutely.
Yes.
On the front page, we list the bills by program. So.
Excellent. For those of you that would like to read each bill and what it says, you can just go to the TDLR website
Absolutely.
and download these. I've seen them on, I think it was a state website where they also have them there, but I just wanted to make that quick little
Yes,
note
you can
there.
go
Thank
to TDLR's website. That's probably the easiest way. You can go to Texas Legislature online.
That's the
Takes a
one.
little bit to get there, but you're more than welcome to try that as well. But we do have everything out there for viewing if you'd like to go to look at
It
it.
is easier to find at your website, absolutely.
A little bit easier.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, let's jump into it. So the first ones that we are going to discuss is House Bill 912, Senate Bill 848, and I think it was House Bill 1372. Of course, we have our timeline, and our timeline is we are trying, we plan to have this fully implemented rules and everything done by March 1st. Sometimes it could go further, especially for a particular portion of this bill, and I'll go over the highlights here in a second. But I will tell you that there are several portions of 912 and 848. Again, those are identical bills, and I'll give you the highlights of those, what they mean here in just a moment. But just to note that we are fully aware that a lot of these provisions are extremely easy to enact. Some of them are just simply form updates. We will have to write into some rule. Just know that the way that we do business here is that once we get these provisions put in place and we vet them with the Department of Public Safety, because some of it does have to do with the Parent Talk program and whatnot, some of it has to do with the judicial system. As soon as it's vetted through them, then we can actually go ahead and enact the provisions. We can let the rules catch up later. Because we know that that's going to take a while to have the rules put in place and have them public comment and things of that nature. But a lot of them are, like I said, a little easier to do than some with these particular bills. For 1372, child passenger safety seat systems, as most of you know that have either written curriculum or been doing this for a long time, you know, there's already something in the program of organized instruction that covers child passenger seat safety. We're just going to look at it, see if there's anything that needs to be expanded. This will be in most likely the curriculum work group. We'll kind of break off with that work group and see, do we need to expand anything? Make sure that whatever the national standard is gets put into place if it's not already added in there. And it's just really an expansion, but we want to make sure, as this bill says, it's a law now, it's required to be put into the program or into the curriculum. Again, as most of you know, a lot of it is added in there. We'll probably do a little bit of expansion or suggest some expansion, and we'll work on that with the work groups. And those of you that don't know the work groups, it's been a while since we've met, just remember the curriculum work group is David, Bruce, Nina Saint, Blake Garrett, Kevin Knapp, and Carlos Reyna. So just to kind of give you a refresher, those were the curriculum work groups, and most of these are going to, actually all of these really touch on curriculum. The other major portion of this bill was the electronic delivery of completion of certificates for the driver education and safety industry as a whole. I'm sorry?
Excuse me, did you change bill numbers?
No, it's still the same one. Everything, 1372, oh, I'm sorry, yes, 1372. Now we're into 912 and 848, which are identical. I have them on the same timeline, and so I put them all together, so my apologies. So House Bill 912 and 848, again, they are identical bills. One of the largest, I would say, hurdles in this one is the allowance for electronic delivery of certificates. That's already done in several of the programs within the DES industry for the driver education and safety industry, especially for driver education, for the online courses, things of that nature. The largest one is driving safety. It does give the allowance. However, the allowance we must write rules to ensure the protection of, the prevention of unauthorized production of these particular certificates. There was if anybody watched the Senate committee meeting, I think it was a special session, David, you were there along with Brian. And it's something that we're going to explore. We do want to make sure that these rules that are written as TDLR, as an industry as a whole, do protect that certificate to do as much as we can to prevent fraud. Can it always be done? No, we know that. But we can do as much as we can to make sure that it does, and that's very important for us. So I would say that would be the one that would probably take the longest, because that's going to have a lot of collaboration with a lot of different folks. We want to get a lot of input from the public, from the industry that it actually affects, the driving safety industry, and so we're looking forward to that, like the course providers, because really that's who it really affects, because you're the ones issuing the certificates. So that one will probably take a little bit longer, but we will get there. The second largest portion, of course, was the parent taught. Those that are not familiar, Brian covered this earlier, and I will get a little bit more into detail. It expands basically who can teach the parent-taught driver education course. You know who currently is allowed to do it. It now expands that you can be designated by the parent or legal guardian or a judge. One of the things in the law says on a form prescribed by the department. So really we have to create a form. That's really where we are with that. Our first meeting for this is going to be on Friday with my team, the bill implementation team. What we have is the entire agency gets together and they assign different teams to work on different bills. It's not just one head and one shoulder and one leg doing it. It's an entire body of people, and it's a very efficient way to actually implement bills. So it works very well. So again, most of that is just I would say and I don't want to make it like it's that simple, but really it's the form. We have to adjust the form, make sure that that it's understood by the Department of Public Safety, that this is allowed, give them time to do some implementation as well, because we do work with them very closely as a team to make sure that everybody is on the same page. And then again, like I stated earlier, if the provisions are written, we will go ahead and enact prior to actually rules being released and signed off on. Because again, this is, it's the designated by the parent. One of them says you can't charge a fee for conducting the course. Has 7 years of driving experience, and the other major one is that you have to meet all the other qualifications for the parent-taught program, but it also reduced the DWI exclusion of a lifetime for a parent-taught instructor to 7 years. And so that was also a major initiative that was actually done. And we've received several phone calls on people like, I'm ready to go, it's effective immediately, so I can do it now. I said, okay, put on the brakes a little bit. We still have to have provisions because we want to make sure that everything is done correctly and safely. But just know that we plan to do, especially the parent-taught portion, pretty fast. We want to fast-track that portion of it because we know it's a little easier than like the electronic delivery of the certificates. So just understand that portion of it.
And Carrie, let me chime in. Brian Francis, Executive Director. We're going to provide you guys a copy of just our starting point for our timeline. And what you're going to notice that there are 2 phases to it. There are rules that will be adopted that will go effective March 1, and that's kind of what we're going to be working on. That's phase 1. And then there's those that we are anticipating will be effective around June 1, and that's phase 2. The June 1 is going to include the hard of hearing and deaf program. It's going to include the police interaction, more of the stuff that takes a meatier approach that we're going to need to be very deliberate, and Carrie and them are already running on this very well. And then also in that second phase, that's where if we've got the information to move forward with doing the electronic for the driver safety, then we will. If we're not ready to do it, then we won't. We don't have to do it. There's no time period that we must do that. And one of the things that I committed to Mr. Bruce, but just to the industry as a whole, we're not going to do anything that's going to allow for or to encourage fraud. We're just not going to do that. We're going to put all of our best resources internally and externally and get our IT people involved and look what other states are doing. But look at the process of being in 2 phases. Those that are in 912 and 848 and 1372 happening before the March, and then those that are in 1051 and Senate Bill 30 taking a little bit more time and going into June. And I'll have Rhonda, she's right there, Rhonda pass out the information. The last thing I'll do, and I'll turn it right back over to Carrie, is how are you guys going to stay abreast of this? We're going to put this in our FAQs. So here we are, here's the timeline, here's when we're anticipating doing X and Y and Z. Also, if you're on our listserv, you're always going to get the heads up when there is a meeting that's taking place that will discuss the rules. When a form has been changed, particularly on parent-taught, we're going to get that update on our webpage. When there is a commission meeting that will adopt a curriculum, that's going to be in the listserv, and so that's going to be the primary point of communication. You won't have to wait and guess. It's going to come to you. We're going to push that information, so you guys are going to be in the loop on every step of the process, and you're going to be able to engage where you want to engage in and watch where you want to watch. And Carrie, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Sue. Sorry, I just need to say one thing. This is Della Lindquist, Deputy General Counsel. In case this all sounds kind of overwhelming and you want to know where the rules that you've been working on fit in, and we've been calling those Phase 2, that's really the curriculum portion, because you remember we got all the kind of the technical stuff done earlier this year. We're going to roll that second, what we've been calling Phase 2, the curriculum, into this second wave of rulemaking that will be in the spring and summer of next year. So that this fall, we can still keep working on the work groups to finish that up, but the most immediate rules are going to be the bills that are effective right now, which would include the cleanup, which includes the electronic and the parent taught, and then we've added the child safety seat to that we'll be working on this fall. And so we won't really see the end result of all of it, including that large Phase 2 curriculum you've been working on, until June of next year. And I think it'll all become more clear when you see the timeline. So there's a method to the madness. So
We
just trying to
promise.
help. Thanks.
Thank
Sheila,
you.
Thank you, that's great.
So I'll move on to Senate Bill 1051. Senate Bill 1051, those of the, again, that are not familiar, is what Brian spoke about earlier. It was an initiative to create a course, a driver education course for inclusion for individuals that are either deaf or hard of hearing. The bill actually gives definition for deaf and hard of hearing. It charges the department to create a driver education course for minors that presents the curriculum in American Sign Language. We are really excited about working on this bill. We have a meeting I have two meetings this Friday, one for parent taught and the other one for the Senate Bill 1051. We are meeting with the Texas School for the Deaf to get working with them. It allows us to, this bill actually gave us the availability to collaborate with other state agencies. We can contract with a licensed driver education school or an instructor to create the course. What that really means is that we want everybody's voice. We want your voice on this, because I think we know that it's going to be there's eyes on this one. We know that, but we want to make sure that everybody is available to actually use this program, and that's also within the bill. As you know, as a business owner, you're required to follow federal guidelines as far as ADA accommodations. That's something that you're already required to do. What this bill seeks to do is actually make it a little easier for driver education schools to adhere to that. We'll have a video that it's the driver education course curriculum that, however it's created, again, we haven't ironed out all the details. I can't tell you what everything is going to look like. I can just tell you that we are working on this already very diligently, and we want to make sure that it's done correct. We want to make sure that it's a great product for these students that are going to be taking this course. I have several folks that are interested. I've talked to several folks. Kevin, you and I have actually talked about it. It's a passion for a lot of different people, and so we're looking forward to doing this. The rules will also allow for the driver education schools to comply with requirements, because the bill states that as a driver education school, that you are required to make reasonable modifications and provide aids and services when providing the classroom portion to someone that is deaf and hard of hearing. You have to provide the department with a school plan for complying with those rules. When this course is created by I would say even just the community, because it's going to be a community effort, when it's created, that's something that you will be able to use. You won't have to, just come up with something by yourself or recreate the wheel. You can use something that's already done. And so we're, again, looking forward to that. The very last one is Senate Bill 30. This one is, it actually has a formal title. It's called the Community Safety Education Act. And there's a lot of small provisions within this particular bill. Not only does it seek to create a course that will be taught all over the state of Texas to kids that are in school grades 9 through 12. It'll be in all driver education and driving safety courses, and it'll be taught to all law enforcement agencies. It's not just about when you are pulled over. It's also about how to interact with the proper interaction with a peace officer, not only during traffic stop, but in-person encounters as well. They want demonstrations, videos, just information that everybody is on the same page. As we have seen over the past few years, obviously, we're not on the same page as far as even different cities within Texas. What they're doing in Lubbock is something that they're doing different in Brownsville. And so we want to make sure that everybody is on the same page, and that's what this seeks to do. We are going to work with the State Board of Education. We are going to work with the Texas Commission of Law Enforcement. Senator West, we want to get the information that they've already come up with last summer, and see what they've come up with and either include, expand, collaborate. This is going to be a very large project. We have it, as Brian said, we have it on the books for June of next year, and we are going to work, we will have it done by then. We're going to have it actually try to do that before then because we've got a lot on our plate, and we want to make sure that this gets out there as soon as possible because we do feel that this is very valuable information. It'll be a good inclusion for the actual curriculum.
Carrie, quick question, Kevin Knapp. Do you envision this going into our 32-hour program somehow, or is it going to be something like the Impact Texas Teens that they have to view and then get another certification? Or, I mean, how do you see this working?
Yes, I have my own visions on this. However, I'm not the only one, and so this is going to have to really go into rulemaking, if I'm not mistaken, because the bill does say that it has to be included in the curriculum, and the curriculum is the 32. The 32 hours of minor adult curriculum is written by rule, and so that can definitely be updated. There's the only one that's really by statute is the 6-hour adult driver education. So that one's we're going to have to figure. There's a lot to be discussed. We just know that there is going to be a lot to be discussed. We are not sure how long the presentation will be. If it'll be a video, if it'll be actual just topical curriculum that'll fit into a part of the program of organized instruction. There's a lot that we need to work out, especially as a work group and with the rest of these folks. And so I think the concentration with TDLR and the work groups is how does it fit into our curriculum. With everybody else, it's what is the curriculum. And so that is going to be a focus. I don't unfortunately have a solid answer for you right now. I would love to. I don't want to tell you something that probably won't come to fruition.
No, and I'm just curious. The one thing I guess we all have to be conscious of is our 32-hour may turn into a 34, 36 if we keep, it's just like the boat safety and different things as you move things into the curriculum. It may not be a 32-hour curriculum anymore. It may be longer than that, which is fine.
Well, and there's also the possibility, like I said, one, it is in rule, but there's also possibilities of looking at what is in curriculum now. You do the alcohol and drugs is traditionally 6 hours,
6 hours,
but it's not required to be 6 hours.
Right. Okay.
It's just 6 hours, and so if it comes from there, or if it comes from different parts, or if we piecemeal it, again, this is something that we'll definitely have to talk to within the work group, especially this curriculum work group, and then we'll also take, once it goes into rule, we'll have public comment, things of that nature. We will have everybody's voice on this, but it's going to be an interesting rulemaking process for this, and we will have to really look at everything to make sure that it can be fit in and how it will be fit in, because again, the most difficult portion will be the adult driver education, because that is a 6-hour by statute that it is 6 hours. So that's going to be probably the hardest one, but I think it can be done. We've got a great group of minds, and so I have the utmost confidence that it'll get done.
Very good, thank you.
Terry, this is Carlos Reyna and Kevin. We were involved very much in this bill when it first came out, because there was different ones, and they were trying to set time limits and so forth. And we fought it with everything we had, because we knew we needed to be flexible, because when it came to driving safety and the adult course, we were going to have a problem. And even with driver's ed. And so I think we got it in a format where I think we can massage it and make it work, where it'll work with all the programs. So.
Exactly. And the best part is that there's so many different, there's 5 major provisions for this of things that they are requiring to be included in the curriculum. And it may not all go into one piece of the curriculum. These are things that we can discuss. They could be put in different modules of the actual course in order to be able to fit in. And so, again, we're accepting all interested minds and parties and volunteer work groups and whatnot, and so we're really looking forward to doing this one. This one, I think Brian stated this is a passion. Those that know me very well. This is a big passion for me, a very big passion for me, and I'm very much looking forward to it. Any questions?
Mr. Chairman, Brian Francis, Executive Director. And it's weird to keep saying that, but where we are. Mr. Knapp, you make a great point, and one of the things that I've encouraged Carrie and Ray and the other folks in the agency that are working on bill implementation teams is not to be set in one path, to really keep all the options open. And I like how you were able to say, well, you know, be prepared. It could be a 34-hour course. It could be a 32-hour course. We have two major responsibilities. It's to develop a curriculum that prepares folks to drive. And now they said also make sure that there's an understanding of the what should take place when there's a law enforcement interaction. I don't think those things are exclusive. I think they can blend together.
Oh, absolutely.
And knowing that there could be a harmony in how we instruct folks and educate them in that area, I mean, that's going to be the magic. That's going to be the, you know, doing the weaving, you know, the yarn together and the silk together, making it blend into something that's different than what we had before, but better than what we had before. I think there's an opportunity to talk about the current curriculum now and the numbers that we have for fatalities and saying, maybe if we expand this part of the discussion a little bit more, maybe we can curtail a little bit of that. So I think that's all open, and I hope that the advisory board will run full speed in the direction of better. Not just full speed in the direction of we're comfortable with what the curriculum has always been. And I know that's making some people nervous, like, man, we know what we're doing. You do. But I know we can do things better if we just take time to think about it. And that's what this gives us an opportunity to make us think about it in a different way, but also think about what the goal of it being better. And so I'm excited about that. And I know you guys are going to do a great job for us.
I think so.
Any other questions, members? Thank you so much, Carrie.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Gary.
Carrie, great job.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Mr. Chairman, really quickly on the documents that we handed out. So imagine 15 or 20 of these bill implementation teams. So this is just one for the driver education program. To give you a very quick skinny on how it reads, the first page you'll see that on the very top line it has Senate Bill 30, 1051, 912, 848, and 1372. That's the overall charge for this bill implementation team. At the very bottom of the page, it indicates the team members. So you have Carrie that's heading it up, and then it has cross-functional members. So we have folks from our licensing group, from our compliance group, from enforcement, from customer service, all the people that may have to touch this. On the far right down there with the consultants, that's something we developed internally, but basically we don't want our information technology people having to go to every meeting, but we want them to plug in when they need to plug in. Our general counsel person, Della, doesn't need to be at every meeting, but when we start getting down to the nit and grit of writing the rules and needing those legal issues, then we have them involved. Our same thing with the Office of Strategic Communications. The consultants provide their broad agency expertise to the process. The folks that are on the team provide their specific functional expertise to the process. So that's how the teams are kind of put together. The timeline, the first one you see for 30 and 1051, just think about that as the longer range one that deals with the curriculum. So that's the one that will tell you that you're going to have an advisory board meeting in May, the week of May 12th, and you're going to have an advisory board meeting in the week of May 14th, dealing with those long-term curriculum issues. When you turn 2 pages in, so on page 5, you'll see another timeline. That timeline is for the first phase. So it's reflecting our meeting today, and it's reflecting that a meeting that you guys will have the week of October 1, and that will deal with the 912 and the 848 and the 1372 changes that we need to make. And then you'll come back after the comment period and have your second advisory board meeting on the week of February 5th to talk about the rules that have been out as a result of that body of work. Goes to our commission, they adopt it. You're back in here on May 12th working on the curriculum stuff. So see how it's just marching you through. And what it doesn't include on here, it doesn't include the work group meetings you guys are going to have in between. It doesn't include, if Carrie, and I think they are leaning towards it, if they decide to have another curriculum summit that talks about the law enforcement interaction piece. We may bring everybody together to get them on the same page on that. That's going to happen somewhere in between there, or maybe in conjunction with an advisory board meeting. So when I said you guys are going to have a lot of work to do, we've got your dance card scheduled through May of next year, and appropriately probably through September of next year. We'll be working on these things to make sure we've implemented and got them right. So I'm super excited about it. Carrie's going to be your point person as the team on this, but she's got a great cast of folks over there helping her out. And have we mentioned your name today? Okay, well, I'm going to mention it again. She's not to be ignored. She's a powerhouse in this group as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Members, any questions?
Not on that.
Yes, 90 Saint, so our next meeting of the advisory board will be October 1st?
The week of. So look at
The
the
week of,
advisory
got
board
it.
meetings
Okay.
as the week of, because we're also juggling other advisory board meetings. But today, when Delia asks you what day you want to meet, you can choose that first day. So you have actually first dibs on the week of for October 1. So you'll be able to decide that today, if you want.
Our next item, any other questions, by the way? Members? Thank you. The next item is recommendations for agenda items for our next committee meeting. Members?
Mr. Chairman, Kevin Knapp. I thought Chad, when he came up and talked about the three different things that he wanted us to kind of look at, the number two, I've had calls, I've heard from people that is talking about the third-party testing and maybe the effectiveness and whatnot. And I'm just wondering if now would be a good time, or the next meeting would be a good time to at least visit about it and talk about suggestions for that.
Absolutely.
We can definitely do it, Mr. Chairman. That is just continuing with the dancing metaphors. That is a playlist that is set by DPS, and we're not going to get too deep into deciding if they're going to listen to hip-hop or country. So we will
Right.
figure out where we plug in on that, but I want to be very careful and sensitive to that's their call. And so we'll take a look at the nexus of where our statute and our licensees impact that process. But I'm very comfortable in saying that most of that's still going to reside in their court. But we can definitely bring it up, and we'll have our staff research it and give you the information about, where we think we can plug into it.
So I guess my question is, who enforces that? Is that DPS or is that TDLR?
So that's going to be primarily DPS,
Okay.
if not all the way DPS.
Okay.
But I want to avoid having my legal general counsel freak out anymore about us having a conversation what we want to talk about at the next meeting.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Absolutely. Do we want to add it? Do we want to consider a motion, or we're just going to pause for now?
No, we can definitely put on there. We'll have that as an item for education examination to
I'll
report
consider-
more compliance.
I'll consider a motion.
Yeah, this is Carlos Reyna. I was going to say,
Carlos,
it's okay to have it on there, but I feel pretty confident that there's not really a whole lot that TDLNR can really do about that. And
Right.
I think it pretty much lays with DPS.
But I think learning the landscape, there's always value in understanding what the
Sure.
landscape looks like.
Yeah.
That's all I ask. Thank you.
Okay. So do I have a
I
motion?
make a motion that we put that
Thank you,
on the
Carlos.
agenda for.
We'll make a motion. Carlos makes a motion to add that on the agenda to discuss a little bit more on that third party. So we have a motion on the floor.
Second.
Thank you so much, Kevin. Seconds it. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Anything else we should consider? Anybody would like to
Yeah,
consider?
this is
anything
Della Lindquist, Deputy General Counsel. There will be quite a few rules then, because we will have worked on the first phase of the new bills. So there'll be the safety seat, there'll be the internal processes about, the electronic issuance and all of that, and anything to do with the parent taught. I will need to get those rules over to the governor at least a couple of weeks before October 1st. So we always like to back into it. So there'll be quite a proliferation of probably work groups hitting the ground running later, middle to late this summer, starting now. So just be prepared for the phone calls and I know everybody's got travel schedules and stuff, but we'll need your input as best we can to get, these are on a pretty compressed schedule, so.
Thank you. Della, do you know what work group that would be? It is going to be the curriculum?
Yes.
I don't think there's any other work group, right, that we're actually talking about right now?
Right, there was the enforcement one, which I don't really see at this point, and then the sort of the technical, the green group, that's how I remember red, yellow, and green. But I think this will be the green group.
And the green group was?
The curriculum.
Thank you so much. I always forget those colors. Excellent. Anything else? Anyone? Let's go ahead and move then to the discussion of the date and time for our next meeting. We had mentioned, what day is, Delia, what day is October the 1st? Let's start
Sunday.
off there.
That's Sunday.
Sunday, okay.
That's why I kind of asked that question.
Okay.
The week of, I'm
There we
good.
go. So any
We've
day,
got a lot of
any
advisory boards,
suggestions?
okay?
The entire week is open. I like Wednesday. We changed it, right, from Thursday to Wednesday. Anybody would like to?
The 4th?
The 4th is a Wednesday.
Yes.
Members?
I'm good.
10-4? Hey, 10-4. I'm sorry about that. 10-4 looks good. Everyone?
good, though.
That's good?
That's good.
Mr. Chairman,
I
are you
think
also
10
good with the 10 o'clock start time, or does that still work as well?
Absolutely.
I think we may have done that for me, because I was traveling from Amarillo, and
Sure.
I'm no longer traveling from Amarillo, so I'm good at 9.
I like 10 in the morning. Anybody?
I think, I can do 9, but 10 works great for me.
Okay.
10 works great, I was just telling you.
If you guys want to change it, by all means. Anyone?
It's already in the phone.
Good.
Excellent.
And don't change that.
Delia, it looks like 10-4, 10 o'clock in the morning? Yes. Looks like it's a
10-4,
go.
10.
Absolutely. Anything else? Anybody have any questions before we adjourn?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
do we dare go on and set the February meeting?
Huh?
Do we dare? I'm just saying. We've got the week of, probably another Sunday.
Actually, that's a Monday.
It's a Monday, thank you, Nigel. But do we want to go on and line that up, or would you guys like to wait, guys being generic and gender-free, would you like to wait until the October meeting?
Well, you know, if we take advantage of it, now we have the entire week right now to choose.
right.
So I think, members, we should consider that.
There could be 3 new members, though.
Okay. So.
Must
a
be
good
present
point.
to win. I'm joking.
I might not be here.
Oh, I see
So
what you're saying. I see what you're saying.
You want
That-
to wait till October?
Well, is it going to change, if you don't mind me asking, in October when we're here, would those 3 members be here or no?
No.
So then the situation would be the same. We're still not going to have those 3 members to make a decision on.
And I would say
February.
since they're newbies, too bad, so sad.
Okay. Let's consider it,
Let's consider it.
right? What do we have? We have February the
You wanna
4th?
do-
What day is it?
The
On
week
Wednesday.
of the
Wednesday.
5th, and it's completely
The
free.
7th is Wednesday.
Okay. I'm okay with that. Members?
As Mr. Webb already put it into his
It's halfway
mobile
there.
device, it's halfway in there.
Almost
When he
done.
presses send, it's done, people.
No objections?
Almost done,
Uh,
man.
Just give me a few more seconds. I think we're checking it here.
I'm good.
See, Kevin's good? Right? You're looking-
Safe.
Good.
You're checking, Tom?
No, I put it in.
February.
Yeah.
You good? You sure? Okay, Delia, it looks like February the 7th, 10 a.m. Tentatively looks good right now.
Outstanding.
Yeah, my wife had me scheduled to paint the house that day, so I'm.
On your calendar out after this. but-
All right. In closing, I want to thank everyone. Thank you so much, public, the viewers, of course, the staff. You guys do such a great job. The back, thank you so much. Members, thank you so much. I appreciate that. This meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.